In this module, we are going to look on how to interact with the database from Laravel. And specifically, we are going to look on how to work with a query builder, and that involves writing the raw SQL statements in Laravel. All right. So, and this lesson specifically, we're going to look at the select from DB, or selecting data from the database. So without further ado, let us dive in and see how to do this. All right. And as you can remember, we had created a table here using the migration, and our table, as we all know, is known as test. So what I'm going to do, I'm going inside one of my controllers here. Let us say, for example, I'll go inside the home controller. All right. And inside the index, currently, as we all know, what we are doing here is that inside the index controller, we are returning the, let me just open and show you this HTML page here, this template here. And so what I'm going to do is that I'm also going to delete this method here so that we just have the index method. And so to interact with the database using the query builder, the way you do this, I'll just say DB. And then this DB, you can use it to call the method that you want. And in my case, I want to use a select statement here. So I just say select. All right. And then I'll pass the select statement that I want inside this DB select. All right. So to use this DB, I need to import here. I'll just say use illuminate. Need to import a class here. Illuminate. Let me just, this should be DB. All right. This first one here. Illuminate support facade DB. So once I've done that, I can be able to execute SQL statement using this DB constant here. So DB select, and inside here I'm going to say, let us say I want to select everything from our table, which is text. So I'll just select everything from text. All right, and then I'll just dump these values here using DD function. Enables you to dump these values, or just to, if you know of the var dump in PHP, this is what DD will do for you, but in a more, in a more well formatted manner. So I'm just going to say this is let's just say table underscore data equals to this guy here, and then I'll just DD our table data here. Let us just go to the browser and do a refresh here now. Okay, as you can see, it returns an empty array. This is because I do not have any values in our table here. So let me just add some values here very fast, and then we can do the same thing again. Okay, I've added some demi data here, 2 rows. And so let us go back to our browser here and do a refresh here and see what it will give us. As you can see, it returns this data in form of an array. This is the first row that I've added, and then this is the second row that I've added. So that is how you run a select statement. And in case you want to maybe to say, to add a where clause, you can just say here where, and I can say where name, for example, equals to, and then I'll just do something like this. This means that you're using bind parameters, and bind parameters help to prevent SQL injection where you're passing your data directly into the database. And so I want where name equals to, in this case, I want where name equals to, let us say where name equals to maybe Kevin. I believe I have something like that. Kevin, all right. So where name equals to, you pass a question mark, and this value here will replace this question mark here. So if I go to the browser and just do a refresh here, as you can see, it returns one value, and that value is the one with the name Kevin. So again, if I come back here and say where maybe the age, let us try age and say age equals to, I did put 24. And this, since this is an integer value, you need not to pass this into quotes. Then let us go back and just do a refresh again and see. As you can see, it returns 2 values, and if you look here, these 2 values have they both have the age of 24. So that is how you can be able to select a value from the DB using this query builder. This is what we call basically the query builder. So now, even more interesting is that this value can be able to pass this value to the view. If you can remember the way we pass value to the view, you can either use, there are quite a number of methods depending on which you like, and most preferably I recommend you use the compact one. So the compact one will just pass the value of our guy on top there, this table data, but now without the variable symbols, and just delete this guy. So this table data will now go to our index view. And if I go to our index view now, let me just go here to resources, views, and then index. What I can simply do is that, let me just look where we can be able to, okay, about this page here. On about this page, I can say about our data and just dump our values here. I can just say about our data like this. And then in this UL, if you can remember, we have used for each. So I'll just use the for each guy in our case here. I'll just do an end for each. All right. So like this. And then instead now I'll just cut our guy here and move them inside our for each. All right. And then this guy, I'll move them on top here. So let me just format this. The way you format this, you press Control Alt and L, and then it will format your code here. So as you can see, it has formatted this. So for each, and we know this is table data that we are sending in this guy here, in this template here. For each table data, as you can say as data like that. All right. And so then let me just remove this guy so I can just remain with one like this, and just say for each table as data, that is for each row I want to get the, let us say maybe the name. And if you can remember again, to output variables you use these double curly braces. So I'll just say data, and then for this, each of these data I want to get the name. All right, so let us try this and see what it will give us here. So I'll go back again here to the browser and just do a refresh now. All right, this is the error that I'm getting here, and the error says that compact doesn't exist. So I think I've messed up here a little bit. Let us just go back here. So this compact here, so this compact method should be inside the view, not outside. So I'll just paste that inside here. Just go back here and then refresh this guy again. As you can now see is that here about our data, you can see now our data has been shown here. So that is how you can be able to pass data from the controller or from the database to the controller and to the Blade template using database query builder. In this lesson, we are going to look on how to insert into the database. All right. So without further ado, let us dive in and see how to do this. So I'm just going back to my code here, and I've cleaned up everything here, the select that we had. And one thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to migration. I just want to combine a number of things as I go through so that we can be able to recap, you know, all these things that we have learned. So I'm going back to migration. Where is migration? Is in the database folder. And in this migration folder, in our test guy here, I'm going to clean a number of things here since I don't want, you know, to have to input all this data. So I'm going to remove this long text. I'm also going to remove this text, answer, the time, date, and I'm just going to remain with the name, age, and height. I think that is easy to use. And then, as you can remember, I need to run my migration here. And so let me just pull up this migration very fast. Just do this. And then I'm going to run PHP artisan, and I'm going to run migrate. I'm going to roll back, and I'm going to roll back the last migration that we did. So I'm just going to use this command that will only roll back the last table that we have here. And then now what I need to do is just run migrate to migrate the table that we have rolled out. So I'll just do migrate here. So let us now go to our database and do a refresh. So now we should have the table with less columns and also a blank table. So now if I go to our table here, test, as you can see now we have age, height, and name, and that is okay for now. So I'll go back again to my controller here. This is inside our guy here, and then our home controller here. And now I'll just do a db insert instead of a select. I'll say db, and then this is an insert guy, and in this guy I'll just pass the insert query, which is insert into, and I'm inserting into the test guy, and in this case I'm passing the age. Let us just confirm the age, name, age, and height. So I'll just say I'm passing the name, the age, and also the height. All right, and then I'll just say values. All right, and then these values I'll put them in a rounded bracket like this, and there are three values, 1, 2, 3. So I'll use this question mark to perform the parameter binding and to avoid SQL injection. And then I'll pass an array here and say the value maybe need to be Kevin. All right, and then the age maybe need to 54, and then the height maybe 56.6, and then we also need a comma here, like this. I think we are good so far, like that. And then for now just dd here to avoid throwing an error at the browser, and I just dd test, something like that. We are good. So let us go to our browser here and just do a refresh on our browser here. So method insert does not exist. I think I made a mistake here. This should be insert. Yeah, all right, like that. Let us do a refresh again here and see. Okay, so we get the db test, so which means our code has executed successfully. So if I go to my table here and do a refresh, we should be able to see one record that we have just inserted. All right, so and then I'll tell you something about what I've done. Okay, as you can see now we have Kevin, age, and height, and then okay, I never passed the created that and the updated that. I'll show you later how to just pass these values automatically and just avoid such scenarios whereby you pass null value for this. And also I never pass the ID because the ID is definitely passed automatically when you do an insert into the DB. So let us do one more insert here and say insert, maybe let us say am I, something of that sort, and maybe the age, let us put maybe 25, and the height, let us put maybe 67.8. Let us go back and do a refresh here. Okay, and then let us go to our database and also do another refresh here. So as you can see, we have two values here, two rows that have been inserted. So that is how you do an insert into the database using this DB query builder. All right, in this lesson we are going to look on how to update the DB. So without further ado, let us dive in and see how to do this. All right, so I'm going back to my code here. So far we have seen how to do an insert, and to do an update you just need to say, okay, you need to say update. All right, you need to say update, and then you'll pass the query parameter here, or the query inside here, and say update. I'm going to update test, and I'm going to set the name, set name equals to, let us say John. All right, and then I'm going to pass where name equals to, then here you'll just pass a question mark like this, where name equals to, since I'm passing a query, I'm passing a question mark here, I need to substitute this question mark here, all right, with my name. So I'm saying update test, that is the table, set name to be John, where name equals to this guy, and this guy will replace this question mark here. Okay, let me just use single quote here so that we can avoid this error like that. So that is okay. So if you go back to our browser here and do a refresh now, we should be able to have an update in our table where the name is Kevin. Okay, it seems everything is okay. So now let me go to my DB here, just do a refresh here. Okay, as you can see, we have now the name John replacing where we had this guy by the name Amai, all right? So we can also update maybe the age. Let us just try to update the age and say the age to be maybe 90. Of course, I'm not 90. 90, where the name is me. And then go back here and just hit this route very fast. Okay, if you go to the database here, there is nothing here that has been updated, and that is because I've left this name Amai, and now if I update this to John that we had updated, and then just do a refresh here again. So if I go back to the database and do a refresh here, we have our age updated as 90, all right? So that is how you perform an update using the query builder. In this lesson, we are going to look on how to delete the database, and let us just go back to our code and see now this. So far we have seen how to perform a select, an update, and an insert. And to delete, of course, is very easy. So I just say, for example, delete. And the way you execute delete, you say delete from the table name. If I want to delete one record, for example, just the record where the name is John, I can say where, let me just delete from test where, then I can say name equals to, I can use a question mark here now like this, and then equals to this, and so this will delete the record where the name is John. So if I go to my browser here and just do a refresh, okay, it seems no errors occurred. And then if I go to our database and just do a refresh, the record John should be done, all right, should be done away with. Now as you can see, the record John has gone here. And if I want to delete everything from the database, I'll just run this delete without the where clause. So if I say delete from test, this means delete everything from this table. So I can just remove this guy here, delete from test, and then now remove this parameter here. And then this will delete everything from the database. And now if I go and just do a refresh again here, okay, seems no error again has occurred. If I do a refresh in the database now, we should have no record. And that is how you simply delete everything from the database. That is it. That is how you delete everything from the database. And so, guys, I believe you are now okay to execute queries or run SQL queries in the database. You can play around, and in our later lesson, you see how to perform complex queries and how to perform joins, but I'll show you some of the coolest way to perform joins and to perform complex queries without necessarily writing these SQL queries. But for now, this brings us to the end of this module, and let us meet in the next module.